Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the World Sport HD exclusive high-definition coverage of the 2007 Pan American Games. We're here at the Rio Olympic Arena for the men's all-around finals. I'm John McCready. Alongside of me, Olympic bronze medalist Peter Corman. Peter, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, John. Looking forward to an exciting competition. This Pan American Games could be one of the best ever. The U.S. has a strong team. The Cubans are good. The Puerto Ricans. It's going to be exciting to see who does well in this individual all-around finals.
Now, it's 1 year out. The Olympics are coming in, Peter. What is going through these guys' mind going into the Olympic year?
Well, it's great to be the Pan American all-around champion. That's something that gymnasts from all over the Pan Am countries would love. But even more important than that, that sets you up for a great performance in Beijing. It lets the judges all around the world know you're here to play. So that's what we're trying to figure out today, is who's going to be the all-around champion of the Pan American Games.
Talking about here to play, we have some great competitors. Venezuela's Jose Fuentes, Colombia's Jorge Oraldo, and we got from the USA, Guillermo Alvarez, and also from the USA, David Durante. Talk a little bit about the competitors coming up, Pete.
Tough field, John. Really great gymnasts. And, you know, the Puerto Ricans have come on strong, and Brazil and Cuba's got some great guys. The U.S. has a very strong contingent here. Really, this is up for grabs. But the key in the all-around is to do good on all of the 6 men's events. All these scores add up. They all count. So any mistake you make does not leave you. That's the key to becoming the all-around champion.
Speaking of the first event, vault, Peter, what would it be like to start on the vault?
I think a good event to start on, John, because gymnasts are nervous. They've got 6 events to do. Vaulting goes quick, it's explosive, it's dynamic. If you're a little nervous, you can usually get by. I wouldn't want to be starting on pommel horse or parallel bars or even high bar. So I think this is a good, safe event. What we're looking for here is for someone to come out and make a statement. I'm here to play. I'm going to do a good vault, I'm going to blast it, I'm going to get a good landing, and then it's off to the races. So let's see what's going to happen.
Here's our first vault from Alexander Colon.
Alexander's from Puerto Rico. Very strong team here. Nice. Sukahara laid out with 2 twists. Real good. A little off to the side. You see the lines on the vault, John.
Yep.
You're supposed to land between them. When you don't, there's a deduction. But, you know, for an all-around gymnast, that's a great start. Watch his push off the horse right there. Mm-hmm. See how high he goes. Good form in the air. Little hop on the landing, but you know what? He'll take that. That's a great start to an all-around competition.
As far as level of difficulty, Peter, is that pretty much a very difficult vault in the world today?
Good vault, not the best, but good difficulty. Should get a decent score.
So far, he seems to be pretty happy about the vault.
Yeah, the all-around competition, John, as you know from being an Olympian yourself, it can be a grueling thing. There's 6 events you have to do. All your scores add up, and it's very important to keep your composure and make sure that you don't make any mental errors, because there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of things happening. You could be in 5th place, and then you're in 2nd, then you're in 10th, and then you're back to 2nd. And it really pays off if you can have that discipline and that confidence to just keep going and see what happens at the end. That's really the most important thing in winning it.
Alexander looking for a good score. His score is a 15.25, not a bad start.
No, good start. Solid, steady, and like I said, easy to start on vaulting because you kind of get it out. It gets you out there and done. It's not a real nervous event. You know, when you get nervous on pommel horse or parallel bars, you can fall off. That doesn't often happen on vaulting, so I think that's a great place to start.
I always remember, I just liked on vault to be able to run, get rid of some energy, get over that horse, and just know that, all right, I got one under my belt.
Yeah, and he got a good score, so he's off, and it's a great start. It's kind of like going out in a golf tournament and parring your first hole. Exactly. You're off and running, no major mistakes.
Yeah. And vault has gotten a lot harder these days, Peter, with the new vaulting horse. A lot higher vaults, a lot further distance. To me, I never competed on that vault, and you never did, but we wish we had it these days, huh?
I do it all the time in practice.
Here we go with our second vault.
Sukahara with 1.5 twists, not bad. Little step on the landing, but you know Brazil has really done well here in the Pan American Games. They have a lot of intense coaches there. Good height, good little feet coming apart in the air, and you could see under rotated, had to take that step back. But once again, to a start to an all-around competition, I'm sure he's pretty happy with that. You can see his legs apart. So those form deductions add up. You know, every time you split your feet, it's tenths of a point.
It was Luis Años from Brazil. Seemed pretty happy with that performance. So basically, one less half twist on that vault than the first vault that we saw.
Yeah, that's right. That's 1.5 twists. And, you know, it's hard to land forward like that because the landing is blind. But he did that fairly well. It's so exciting, you know, it's that Olympic feeling at the Pan Am Games when you compete in them or you coach in them. You get that Olympic feeling. And next summer is the Olympic Games, and I know all of these athletes are thinking about that. They're thinking, okay, this is a really good thing for me right now. It's a year before the Olympic Games, and this is like a warm-up. It's very important to my country to do well at the Pan Ams, but it's also important for me to get into that Olympic feeling, because I think if you don't have that, you don't do as well as you can.
And these competitions are set up exactly like the Olympics. You see the beautiful graphics in the background. They got out of the podium, so it's really no different.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Carlos Carbonell from Venezuela.
Good vault in the middle of the zone, had to take a step backward and sideways, but you know what I liked about that vault, John? He had a lot of explosion. His body stayed nice and straight. He didn't have to pike down to make the landing, so technically that was performed very well. Look at how straight his body stays right until he finishes. Just a little off center. Good, solid. You know, what we're seeing here is guys doing vaults they can handle very well. They're not trying to add another half twist to get the difficulty. They just want to get a clean vault started. And they're looking, believe me, each one of them is thinking, I could be the Pan Am Olympic, the Pan Am all-around champion, and I've got to make sure I make no mistakes. That's the key.
And you say Olympic in there because to them, like we talked about, it is the Olympics to them. It's the biggest, one of the biggest competitions in their country.
Absolutely. You know, a lot of the Pan Am countries, only 12 teams qualify to the Olympic Games. And a lot of the Pan American countries do not qualify as a team. So they can have individuals in the Olympics, but they won't have a team in the Olympics. So for them, this is really, in terms of the team competition, this is really their team Olympics for many of the countries.
Coming up on vault from Cuba, Gerardo Medina. Now, Cuba's always been very strong on this event, haven't they?
Very powerful, great history of vaulting with Cuervo and Jorge Rodriguez and all the Cuban greats from back in the day. Ooh. Oh, that was a little strange. Bad takeoff. It was very good distance from the horse, but that was a technical error. Let's see if we can get a replay of that, because it was very odd. When his hands hit the horse, his body piked, and that caused him to kind of fall off the end. Right there.
Almost like he didn't even want to use the horse.
Yeah, what's important in vault, like skimming a stone on a pond, you want to come in low and propel off of it. And as you could see, he put his hands on the horse and his body piked. So he barely made it around. He actually did good, John, to land on his feet.
Yeah.
He could have put his hands down easy.
Could have been kind of disastrous, but he kind of pulled it through. From his reaction, Peter, it doesn't seem like he's too upset about it, almost like maybe that's been a problem before.
Maybe, and he definitely looks like, you know, I got by on that one. And that's a pretty good score. That's a very generous 15.25.
Very generous.
He did have good form and he did have good distance, but there was a major technical flaw in the performance of that vault.
Moving on, our next competitor on the vault, Luis Rivera.
Yeah,
Puerto Rico. Good country, huh?
Yeah, good country. Yep. Good country. Did a great job here in the team competition and surprised a lot of people around the world. Their gymnastics program, they have gymnasts scattered through different countries, but they are very strong now. And one of the countries you'd look at is saying these guys are up and coming, very good athletics, very, very physically strong.
Tell how powerful he is right off the bat. Wow.
Great vault. We've seen a couple of those. That's a Sukahara with 2 twists in the laid out position, but what was nice about his was perfect form in the air, tremendous flight off the horse. Watch the push right there.
Wow.
Look how high he is. Yeah, he just floated down.
Can't imagine it done better than that, huh, Pete?
Yeah, that was great. That was no doubt about it. That's a world-class vault.
Lands right in the lines.
The difficulty of it isn't fantastic on an international Olympic stage, but it's good. But you're right, John. It couldn't be done much better.
So what would he need to step that vault up to the Olympic level?
No, just another half twist
Another half
would help.
twist.
Yeah, would help. Or
maybe one more twist too. Aren't people doing that triple now?
Yeah, one more twist would be good. 15-7, great score.
That's a great score. He's got to be happy with that starting off the competition. All right, moving to Venezuela's Jose Luis Fuentes. It's going to be our last competitor on the vault. Let's see what he's got, Pete.
Now, this has been good so far. Great start. Everybody's done their job.
Kind of an awkward run there.
Same vault.
Same vault as Luis, but like we said, not quite as done as good as Luis did it.
Yeah, I didn't have the flight, didn't have the perfection, landed a little bit funny, and that's the difference in gymnastics, and it's a sport of small things. You know, watch his legs come apart right there. It just didn't have to pike down to make it. He didn't land right in the middle. You add them all up, it's, 10th here, 2 tenths here, another 10th here, and that's kind of what our sport is. It's a matter of tenths and perfection. So that was a good vault, but it wasn't great, and when you put that compared to Luis's, it's just not as good, not as powerful.
He's excited about it, though, Pete. He's showing it.
Yeah, well, this is the all-around competition is more like a marathon than a sprint. You got 6 events to go, and everybody's thinking about the final outcome, John. They're not as much worried about how perfect their vault was or their parallel bar routine. They're looking at the totality of what they got to do, and that's 6 events today. So it's you take them as you go, and you move forward, and you make sure that there's no major mistakes, because in a competition like this, when you make a major mistake, you move down the leaderboard really fast.
It's all about the highs and lows. You get up there, you get amped up to compete, and then you got to sit down and wait for the next event. So it's tough in a long competition like this.
But that was a great start for all of those athletes on vault. They all did their job, and that's a good score too.
14.5445, very good score.
Yeah. So I think everyone's probably happy, and they move on now to parallel bars. So, let the games begin. They've got one under their belt, and it's get ready to keep going.
So that was our first event, the vault. Let's look at the results here for the men's individual all-around. Obviously, Luis Rivera, 15.7, great vault from Puerto Rico. And then Venezuela hanging in there with 2 15.45s and a 15.4 from Carlos and Jose. So far, so good, right, Pete?
Great start. Those guys did their job, and now we're on to another event, the still rings.
Luis Vargas. This guy is quite a veteran. He's been around for a while. He actually went to Penn State, was an NCAA national champion, and then came back and is now competing again.
Yeah, and this is a good event for Luis. Nice Maltese. Back roll across, very good. A little bit short.
Seems to be a little shaky up there, Pete.
Yeah, he definitely was a little quick in the cross, but these positions look pretty good. Not bad. Good routine. John, we talked about on vaulting how the tenths can add up, the tenths of a point off. Same thing here. Some of those strength positions were not held quite long enough or not in the perfect position. Took a big step on the dismount, but overall, good balance of swing and strength in this exercise.
How long is he wanting to hold these feet?
You want to hold it. You have to hold it for 2 seconds, but it's better to hold it for 3. It looks better. It's a little more impressive to the judges, and 2 seconds to me might be 1.5 seconds to you. So what you want to do with the judge is you want to put that in his mind as saying, I could have held this all day if I wanted to. Don't even think about deducting me.
But at the same time, you're trying to conserve energy for this dismount so you can stick it.
Yeah, it's hard. You've got to be so strong now. I think when you look at all of athletics in every sport, I think the men's still rings probably requires the most strength pound for pound, even more than weightlifting in a way, because in powerlifting and weightlifting you exercise mainly main muscle movers, in still rings, it's all the muscles of your body have to be strong to hold those positions. So, you know, if you've got strong biceps but a weak back, it doesn't work. If you've got, you know, weak shoulders but strong arms, it doesn't work. You've just got to be strong all over. So, you know, I think if they were to do an analysis of which athlete performs the greatest feat of strength in any sport, I think that the men's still rings would clearly be in the top of any category.
Wow. We heard some pretty loud screaming there. The Pan American countries are known for their cheering. They can get rowdy, can't they, Pete?
They can, and there's 6 events going on at the same time. So, you know, there'll be people performing on the pommel horse and the floor and the vaulting all together. So, yeah, you're going to hear that, and it's kind of a 6-ring circus out there. And, you know, that also requires an athlete who can really focus in and concentrate on what he's doing and not get so caught up in the moment that you kind of forget what's happening.
Coming up to rings here, we have from Colombia, Jorge Geraldo.
Good position. Nice.
Yeah, that was a strong move there.
You know, rings now, you've got to be strong, and you also have to swing well. With good, solid, steady handstands. We'll see that right now. Let's see if he goes right up.
That was a little different there, wasn't it, Pete?
That was awesome. Yeah, that was a combination of Yamawakis and Whippets. Skills, forward swinging skills on the rings. Very original, the way he put those together. I like his positions. He's a very pretty gymnast. His toes are pointed real nice.
Wow. A little off there.
Yeah, but he actually handled it well.
He's getting it back there. Let's see what he does here on the dismount.
Nice.
Nice.
Stuck cold, too. Really good routine.
That was good for Colombia. Good start.
Yeah, great start. That was a hard routine. Had a lot of swing elements in it and good, solid strength positions. So you look at that and you go, wow, that guy. There's a good example, John, of we talked earlier about the Pan American countries getting better in gymnastics. That ring routine would be very good in probably any country in the world would take that in a team competition.
Now, he had a lot of swinging. A lot of guys don't have swinging. Is swinging the same as strength? Will it add up in points?
The strength elements can add up in points easier, but, you know, in looking at the way rules are right now, I think it's good to be able to do both. When I look at a gymnast, and I think a lot of the judges are from my generation of gymnastics, they look at it and say, you know, to be great, you got to do everything well. You can't just do one thing well. And on rings, there are a lot of guys who just do good strength, but he is not one of them. He does both really good.
Which is not always the case. And also, as far as injuries, which is going to be a little easier on the body, the swing or the strength?
Well, it depends. I mean, some guys can get hurt doing strength and swing, but, you know, it really is. When you look at men's still rings, you're not using your lower body that much, but in terms of your upper body and the strength to it, it's really an amazing feat to do those moves connected like they are. We kind of take it for granted, John, you and I do, being in the gymnastics world because we see it so often, but it's amazing if you were to look at what gymnasts did on rings 20 years ago and what they do now. It's a completely different thing.
Jorge's waiting for a score. The judges seem to be talking about it a little bit.
Yeah, some of his strength holds were also a little bit quick. The positions were really good, but you know, one judge could be counting those seconds. Pretty good score. 15, not bad.
That moves him to the first place after 2, Pete.
Yep, he's looking good so far.
So this competition's moving right along. Pete, Colombia making a good stand, and we go over to the pommel horse for our first visit from the United States of America, Guillermo Alvarez.
Big event to start on, John. Important to do a good job here. If you are nervous, typically it shows up on pommel horse, but this looks great so far.
Really a nice swing, huh?
Yeah, he's great. He has great forms from the University of Minnesota. Very strong competitor. One of the best in the U.S. right now. And this is one of the guys that we really look for to do well at the Pan Am Games because he's a little young, he's a little inexperienced, but he's very talented.
Whoa.
Oh, baby, that was a save.
It's like he was going to save it, and then he just couldn't handle it anymore.
Yeah, he just got a little out of control. But you know what? That was like a veteran cover-up, because he could have fallen very easily, could have fallen off, but he didn't do it. So at the end of this competition, when he looks back and his coach looks back at it, I bet you they go to this right there and say, you did well in that meet because you got by moments like that.
Yeah.
And you know, John, most, as you know from competing in all-around competition, almost everybody has something like that happen to them once. It's kind of like a test. It's like the gymnastic god is out there saying, okay, you're going to get by here and there, but you're going to get one test to see if you can handle it. And he may have gotten his right there, and he did a very good job with it.
He certainly did. Moving on, Minor Reyes from Guatemala.
Nice spindle.
Definitely right off the bat, you can tell the difference in the swing from Guillermo.
Yeah, Guillermo had more stretch, and you can see, watch his feet. You can see them coming apart. His legs are not really pasted together. Those, wow, that was a...
He's a fighter, huh?
Yeah, that was a good fight, but that was a bad mistake. So, Pommel Horse is one of those events we've been talking today. We talked about it on vault and rings, how the tenths of a point can add up. On Pommel Horse, they can really add up, and you can, if you're in an all-around competition, you can find yourself lose every time his feet come apart. It's another tenth of a point. You can lose a lot of points here, and you know, you have 6 events, but if you're losing because of the form and the scrappiness of that routine, you can lose so much there that it's really hard to make up.
Makes it difficult on the judges too with a routine like that, Pete, because it's pretty hard to keep up with all that, huh?
Well, if they're not prepared, it is. But you can see his knees bend. He hit the horse. He basically stopped. All of those are technical deductions. They all add up. And what does happen, you mentioned judging. Sometimes judges see so many mistakes in a routine like that that they tend sometimes not to count them all. It's just hard to write it all down at the same time. But that routine had a lot of breaks in it. And while he didn't fall, you add all those points up, and that's going to be hard for him to recover and still place well in the all-around. Not impossible, but definitely difficult.
It really looked like he was just up there battling to get through, where Guillermo was trying to be perfect.
Yeah, this is a tough sport. You know, it's not like ping pong. You actually get out there, and those skills are hard. Once your rhythm is off, and once your swing is starting to flatten, and you've lost speed, it's very difficult to keep going. So he actually did a good job in not falling off, but the most important thing is that those tenths of a point came off, and we'll see what his score is, but my guess is it's going to be a little disappointing to him. I'm sure he's done better routines in practice.
So there's our score, 12.25 for Minor. Not a great score.
No, not a great score at all, but, you know, he didn't fall. That was about the best you can say out of that, is I survived it.
And there's our final results for this Pan American Games Pommel Horse competition. We have more coming back. Rio de Janeiro Pan American Games. Welcome back, everybody, to World Sport HD's exclusive high-definition coverage of the 2007 Pan American Games. We're at the Rio Olympic Arena, and we're here for rotation 2 in the men's individual all-around. I'm John McCready. Alongside of me, Peter Corman. Peter, catch us up so far.
Well, John, we're 1 event down and 5 more to go. The key here, and there's 3 things in gymnastics that happen at the Pan Am Games. We have the team competition, we have the individual event competition, and we have the all-around competition. The all-around is kind of like the decathlon in track. It's a combination of gymnasts performing on all of the 6 events: floor exercise, pommel horse rings, vaulting, parallel bars, and high bar. So the key here is to do a good job on all of them and determine who is the best single male athlete in the Pan Am Games. That's what we're trying to find out right now.
The athletes are warming up. They're getting ready for the parallel bars right here. Our first competitor is going to be from Brazil, Luis Anjos. So how much do these guys get to warm up, Peter?
They each get 1 touch in the warm-up. They get 1 turn, but they've warmed up prior to when the event starts. And you know, it's at this point, John, they're into the competition. They're out there on the course, getting through their events, and what really important right now in their mind is that get through every routine. The guy who wins the all-around is usually the one who was able to fight the hardest, the one who was able to make sure he didn't have any mental breakdowns, and make sure that he made the least mistakes. And so that's really the ticket right now.
There's Luis on his parallel bar routine.
The parallel bars has gotten very difficult over the last few years. A lot of swinging skills like that where they go underneath.
It's got to hurt the arms, huh?
Yeah, that can be very painful for sure. You got to be tough to do this. It looks easy, but it is definitely requires some mental toughness for sure. This routine has a lot of little breaks in it, but nothing major, and the difficulty level is pretty high, so that was a mistake. Parallel bar is one of those events, you need good rhythm, you need to go all the way through. The routine should flow like a song. It shouldn't have those pauses and gaps in rhythm, and you saw some of that there, but, you know, considering the difficulty, John, and the fact that this is an all-around competition, that was a pretty good routine. I think he's probably, had you said to him before the meet, if I do this routine, will you take it? I think he probably would have said, yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, he seemed pretty happy about it in the crowd. He's a hometown favorite, and they're liking it.
Yeah, they're liking it. Nice high bell, really good, powerful.
Now you said right here he had a little bit of a mistake here, right?
Yeah, you watch when he catches the bar right there. You see his legs bend, and he stopped.
Just not smooth.
Caught with legs bent, yeah. So we talked a lot earlier in the competition on vaulting in on rings and pommel horse about the tenths of a point adding up. Really, this is it for the all-around. You know, you go through, you hit 10th here, 10th there, 2 tenths there. You add them all up, and, you know, if you got enough off, you're not going to win it. So this is really, to be the Pan Am champion in the all-around is really tough. And the guy who's going to do it is the one who makes the least mistakes.
These guys get really pumped up, too, especially when it's in their home country. It kind of adds that home court cooking, right?
Absolutely. There's nothing like competing in front of your own fans. So I mean, there's a lot of pride. There's a lot of patriotism to their countries and to their sport, and to the fact that they're, male gymnasts, John, and you know this, I know, feel a lot of pride in what they do, because it's often 7-8 hours of workout a day. You start when you're very young. You train every bit as hard as an NFL football player or NBA basketball player. You sacrifice a lot in your life. When you finally get to a competition like these Pan Am Games and you're in the finals of the all-around, it's years and years of hard work. You're finally getting to display it. You're getting your chance to be on the stage. And believe me, the last thing they want to do is make a mistake out there. So it's not just about winning, it's also about what you've done your whole life. And this is the chance to show it off. So, in a lot of these guys, they don't get another chance. This is their one time.
There's Venezuela's Carlos Carbonell on the parallel bars. So far, so good.
Yeah, great start. Did a nice giant double back. And you see little form breaks. His legs and toes aren't perfect. Peach basket to a handstand. A lot of little errors leading up.
Seems a little nervous up there.
Yeah, he seems a little tight. You're right. And his execution and his toes aren't really pointed as good as they could be.
Big step on the dismount.
Yeah, there's another example, and we talk a lot about things adding up. That routine didn't have a major break, but it had a lot of little errors. And if you just watch it, the routine didn't flow. It didn't have the fluency that it should to get a really top score. You'll watch when there's a lot of pauses and semi-stops, like right there wasn't really fluid.
You can kind of see the look on their face too, Pete, when they their face says it all. When he got down, it was kind of like,
okay.
Yeah, he was happy to get through it, but he wasn't
great.
Wasn't great.
You can get away with that in an all-around competition. You're not going to win parallel bars, but you don't have to. What you've got to do is just minimize the mistakes you do make and try to keep moving. So this is kind of what we talk about when we say it's more of a marathon than a sprint. It's one routine out of 6. It's a long competition, and he got that one in. Took that big step on the dismount, but nothing major. Didn't fall, didn't stop, didn't have to leave anything out. So it's keep going.
He's got some guns on him, huh, Pete? No, there's no lack of strength in that boy.
Yeah, there's no weak gymnasts anymore, John. The days when we had weak guys, like when you were competing, those days are over.
Thanks, Pete. So he's packing up, getting his stuff ready for the 3rd event. Right now, he's just trying to get putting that behind him, right, Pete, and saying,
Yeah.
all right, what do I got to look forward to?
Yeah, it wasn't that bad, though. I mean, he's, to be honest with you, John, he's not great on parallel bars. He's okay, and he did a good routine for him. His execution and form isn't great. And we hear some booing, so let's see. Probably a score they're not happy with.
Uh-huh.
And like we talked about earlier, that's 14.15. Okay, that's good. I mean, that's a decent score. It's not going to be the best on parallel bars. It's certainly not going to be the worst. And in the end, if you do well in the all-around, you could look to parallel bars and say, you know what, I survived that, and that could have done me in. I was a little off balance here and there, but I didn't let it get to me. I just kept going, and there you go.
Coming up from Cuba, Gerardo Medina. Saw him on the vault. Had a little bit of a problem on vaults. Let's see if he can pick it up here.
Yeah, he had that funky vault, but he actually got by with a good score, so. Nice Diamondov. Beautiful peach handstand.
Yeah. So he's back on track. This guy's pretty powerful.
Yeah, you're not kidding. This is a good routine. I like his style. He's very long. His body is very straight, and he's very pleasant to watch because of that. John, it's easier in gymnastics to do things when you're small. But tall guys actually look better doing it because it's a little more impressive when you see someone as straight as he is. And he looks tall. He's not that tall, but for gymnast he is.
For gymnast he is. I mean, when you say tall, meaning 5'8", right?
5'8's tall for a gymnast, yeah. Some guys get out there, they're 5'6" or 7. They look tall compared to the other guys. But like I said, if you're small, it's actually, in a lot of ways, easier to do things, especially on, like, floor and vaulting and, to some extent, parallel bars as well. But tall guys look nicer. It's just a little more impressive when they have a long body line. And it's one of the things that it's not written in the code of points that you give a taller guy a better score. But, it's a subjective sport, and judges sit there and they watch the overall performance. And, sometimes the guys who just perform a little better, their body somatotype can actually help them get a better score. And I think this is one of those cases here.
Well, it's like you said, too, with Gerardo, with the all-around competition. He had a little bit of trouble on vault, but that doesn't mean you're out of it. You got to just stick with it and have that consistency. So, really, he bounced back good here in parallel bars, and he's showing that he's here to play.
Yeah, he's definitely. He did. He had a problem on vault. He didn't get a real bad score for it, but it could have been disaster, and he hung in there, and then went on, did a good parallel bar routine. So, he's off and going, and that's really the key is. Don't let anything get to your head either. A little mistake, fine, you move past it, but you can't carry it on to the next event.
That's a great point you had before, Pete, when you said every athlete in here is going to have something not go as planned. Somebody might be, their not go as planned might be smaller than the other person, but everyone's going to have it. It's how they deal with it in the all-around competition.
Yeah, usually that happens. I mean, there's been cases where great guys just are great and they can just go through, but that's a rarity. I always feel that's like that in every sport, John. If you're going to be the Pan American all-around champion, something had to happen to you along the way to test whether you had the mettle to be that guy. And you can look in these guys' eyes. This is what they want, and they will be tested in some way. And he's already had a test on vaulting, and he already passed it. So, sometimes you get tested a couple times, and it really is what it's like. And I think you find it in baseball when you're pitching. You find it in football when you're the quarterback. You find it when you're playing in a golf tournament or running in a track meet. And gymnasts too. You don't win something easily. You win it, difficult. And a sport like this, no all-around champion has got there an easy way. So
here's Luis Rivera from Puerto Rico. We saw him on vault. He had a great vault. So far, so good on parallel bars. That was very interesting right there.
Yeah, a little choppy. His technique on parallel bars could be a little better, but he's definitely getting through his routine. And you can see how strong he is. Look at his shoulders. They're like huge.
Now, he's pretty much a perfect gymnast body, wouldn't you say, Pete?
Yeah, small and strong helps, but doesn't always look as good. You know, the longer guys tend to look a little more impressive, little more fluid. But the way our sport is now, you've got to be strong. There's no way around it. The old days, you could not be as physically strong and still get by, but nowadays you've got to be strong.
Luis seemed to be very happy with that routine. Coming off that vault and then this parallel bar routine, he should be kind of humming along in this competition.
Yeah, he's on a roll. This routine was not of super difficulty, John, and also had some technical flaws, but it's the way he does it, and he did get through it, and, you know, you'd put it down on the notebook as a hit routine. And that's the best you can do at this point in time. You know, he's at the meet. The best you can hope for is to hit as good as you can hit. And, you know, you see where the cards fly. And in 6 events in the all-around, you know, every guy's not going to have 6 strong events. They all have a weakness somewhere. So that wasn't, he's not great on parallel bars, but he did a really good job.
Which is exactly what you've been saying. You might not be great on something, but you got to do a good job.
Yeah, and he did. So, you know, that's what it takes. And he's right now close to the middle of the competition. So it's heading to high bar. They follow Olympic order: floor, pommel horse rings, vault, parallel bars, high bar. So you kind of go through those, and each event you've got a thought in your mind like, okay, did that one. Now I go to here, and what's that going to be like? Might be a new skill, might be trouble in practice you had earlier in the week, it might be an injury, but there's something on that young man's mind right now. He's thinking of high bar, and he's probably thinking something like, I got to catch my release, or I got to stick my dismount.
14.1, what do you think about that, Pete?
Yeah, well, low start score and a little scrappy here and there, but I think in this competition, John, that score may not hurt him too bad. Parallel bars, it's a tough scoring event, and you know, if that's his lowest score, then you know, not going to kill him.
Jose Luis Fuentes of Venezuela had a pretty good vault. Not great, but for him, very good, and now he's on to parallel bars.
Yeah, and he's a good gymnast. Nice peach to a handstand. I like his body position. His toes are pointed. His legs are really straight.
He's what you're talking about, the long body.
Yeah, and that was a really cool skill.
So far, really good P-bar routine.
Yep, really steady and solid.
Seems like he's not too nervous up there. This guy's a veteran, man. He's ready to play.
Yep. Getting ready, looking for a nice stick.
He wants a good dismount here. Nice.
Good routine. Wow, that was great.
He's on his way.
Yeah, that was very good. Good difficulty, good execution, good fluidity, nice body lines and form. All the things that a judge likes to see, you just saw there. So that's absolutely reason to be happy. And parallel bars is a tough event. Parallel bars is an event that can get you in an all-around competition because there's a lot of release moves. There's a lot of skills that can be on the verge of a handstand or not. And, you know, when you look at winning or not winning the all-around, sometimes it can come down to pommel horse and parallel bars. And so it's good to get that one under your belt.
He definitely got this one under his belt along with the vault. And so far, it's a really, really good competition for Jose Luis.
Yeah, no question about it. He's off and running, but long way to go. 2 events down and 4 more to go. Like we said, this is more of a marathon.
So you land this event, Peter, you walk down the podium, you're happy for a couple minutes, you get your score, and then you put it behind you, right?
Yeah, you forget about it because you're thinking about high bar. That's his next event.
He's already putting on his wrist guards for high bar. Hear a little booing in the crowd there. Like we said, they are a anxious crowd.
There's a lot of emotion, and you know, spectators, gymnastics scoring, John, is gone through a metamorphosis in the last few years. It's totally different than it used to be. And it's difficult for the judges to even figure it out sometimes. Judges and coaches have their hands full. For spectators, it's tough. It's a tough thing to ask them to understand. And you can see them all gathering now. And this can be like an act of Congress sometimes to get a score.
It is 15.15.
Good score. I mean, that's a high score for parallel bars.
Puts him in first place.
Yeah, he's great. So doing good. But judging can be, right now, judging in gymnastics, you've got to really know what you're doing, and it's tough. It's I wouldn't want to be one, that's for sure.
Yeah. Moving over back to the vault for Colombia, Jorge Geraldo.
And like we said, there's 6 events going on at the same time. So we saw vaulting earlier, but they'll be vaulting throughout the competition. Same vault, we saw Sukahara with 2 twists laid out. Landed a little sideways. Good flight, good power, good distance. Just landed a little bit off center. So deductions to come, but overall, not a bad performance. No, that's a great camera angle. You see, look at the distance and flight. You can see he's not in the center of the mat. He hit the line, but recovered fairly well.
I'd like to mention to everyone that's watching, we also had a huge soccer game tonight. I think it was Argentina against Brazil, and Brazil won. They all came over here after the competition, so they still got their war paint on and their flags, and that's a lot of the ruckus you hear there in the audience. 15.6, not a bad score, right, Pete?
No, great score. Great score, and talking about the judging, you know, maybe that was a little high compared to the earlier round we saw, but, you know, that can happen too.
It's really important for the judges to stay consistent in all-around competition like this, wouldn't you say, Pete?
It's important, but it doesn't always happen.
We say we want it to happen. There's your vault results. 15.7. Tied Luis Rivera, who we said had a very good vault, so at least they were pretty consistent in that. Luis Vargas hanging in there from Puerto Rico in 3rd place with a 15.65.
Yeah, and that gives you the feeling right there. You can see how important it is for those tenths. You know, the difference between a 15.2 and a 15.7. You know, that's 5/10 of a point. You've got to make that up somewhere else. So, you know, it all adds up. It all adds up. And the guy in the end who's going to be standing on top of the podium is the guy who overcame everything, but also found a way to keep those tenths at a minimal. That's really the secret.
Now, Peter, a lot of people watching might not be used to these scores still because they're still pretty new. Is the 15s, the 14s? What are we looking at here since we're used to the 10.0 in gymnastics?
Well, technically, John, I mean, theoretically, on paper, you could get a 20, but it's not realistic because you can't come up with enough difficulty. But nowadays, for this competition, anything in the 15 or higher range is pretty good. 16 or higher is great. And if you're down in the 12 or 13, you've got some work to do.
So really, the crowd's getting used to this, the judges are getting used to the scores, but the athletes really just have to go out and do what they normally do, is hit routines, and that's what we're seeing from Colombia's Jorge Geraldo with a 30.6. He's leading after 2 apparatus, which it's got to feel good, doesn't it, Pete?
Yeah, and it's actually a tie for first, so it's exciting. This is a very close competition. You look how close those scores are. We're talking about tenths of a point. The tenths of a point now can, in some cases, are separating 3 and 4 guys.
An exciting competition here in Rio. We'll be back with more Pan American Games here at the Rio Olympic Arena.
You're watching World Sport HD, a VOOM HD network.
Welcome back to World Sport HD's exclusive high-definition coverage of the 2007 Pan American Games. We're here at the Rio Olympic Arena. I'm John McCready. Alongside me, Olympic bronze medalist Peter Corman. Peter, what do we got going on so far?
Well, we are in the middle of a very close and exciting all-around competition. Everyone's bunched up at the top. There have been very few mistakes so far. Guys are hitting good, clean routines. And this group is on to high bar, and we can see some fireworks here, John, because this is the most exciting of the men's events. And this can make or break you in an all-around competition. You can get a great score, but if you miss a release or you have a slip, you can move yourself from basically first to out of it. You've got to hit here.
And this is really where you can pull the crowd into a big event, right? You do a good high bar routine, the crowd loves it, and then you got them on their side.
Yeah, that's right. And we're bouncing around from event to event because that's what it's like here. We've seen parallel bars, we've seen pommel horse rings and vaulting, and now we're on high bar.
With Venezuela's Carlos Carbonell.
High bar is a event that has a lot of risk, a lot of exciting moves.
This guy seems to have a little bit of form trouble here in the beginning.
Yeah, he's a little scrappy here and there. His legs come apart a lot. And the difficulty of this routine is not real high so far.
I haven't seen those big releases that we're used to seeing these days, huh? Ooh.
And that was not good. That's exactly what you don't want to have happen in an all-around competition, or in any competition for that matter. But in the all-around, because there's so many guys in the event and there's so many people performing, when you make a mistake like that, it can drop you right out of it. And important now to get up, finish. Remember that every tenth of a point counts, because this is a sport of tenths of a point. But that was a major disappointment.
Looked like it was just a little hand change, and nerves just got to him.
You know what? If I knew that, John, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be out there coaching.
You'd still be competing?
Maybe. But yeah, nerves are, and to be honest with you, his technique on high bar is not perfect. He's got a lot of little flaws in the way he does things, and his difficulty of that routine was not great. So I am sure that when he lists his top events and his weak events in gymnastics, that high bar he puts down the bottom of that list.
Definitely, and it looks like he just got off the bar there. I don't think that would be his normal dismount. A double back was
pretty easy.
Pretty easy dismount for a guy that good of a gymnast.
Yeah, let's see what happened here. You see his feet coming apart right there. This is prior to the mistake, but even those skills are done poorly. This is not easy either. It looks easy when you see it sometimes on TV, but gymnastics is hard. You see the hand placements. Oh, right there, his left arm. Yeah, he just hopped his grip and totally missed the bar. That can happen. You just hope it doesn't happen in the all-around competition at the Pan American Games.
And you see his double back dismount.
Not a happy camper with that routine.
Yeah. Like we said, he's got to put his grips away and get ready. He goes to floor exercise next, so he's really got to figure out how to get back on track.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's going to be dragging a really low score with him. We were just talking about the scoring. 15 to 16 is where you want to be. What you don't want to see is scores down in the 12s and 13s. So it'll be interesting to see where this score lies. But, we talked a lot about how this event is a combination of tenths of a point. And there it is, a 12.1. So when you're talking tenths of a point adding up, and you go all the way down to a 12, it's
tough to climb back.
It's tough. That's a tough one.
Tough mentally, and it's just tough to score-wise to make up that much ground.
Yeah, if there was only 4 or 5 guys in the competition, you might have a chance. But there's 36 guys, so everyone's not going to have a mistake like that.
Moving on to Cuba's Gerardo Medina. This guy so far, very good competition. He did very well on parallel bars. We should see some big stuff because Cuba is notorious for pretty big stuff on high bar.
Yeah, the Cubans are great gymnasts. They have a very proud, very illustrious history in the Pan Am Games especially. And they've beaten the U.S. a number of times in the Pan American Games, and that's always been a big thing for them. I think their country prepares probably more for the Pan Am Games than they do even for the Olympics, because often they don't qualify as a team to the Olympic Games, being that only 12 countries in the world get to go. But every time we compete against Cuba in gymnastics in the Pan Am Games, they're always ready to go against us, and it's always a real battle. Good start, one-arm sequence of skills.
Wow.
Wow, nice.
Beautiful release.
Yeah, good full twisting Jaeger, really good. Caught right on the tips of his fingernails. This is a good routine.
Very good routine. You don't usually see that release much anymore.
Yeah,
Huh?
it's hard. That's one of the reasons you don't see it, John, is because it's difficult and it can be missed easily. And guys are smart. They want to do high difficulty, but you don't want to put something in your routine that's a mistake waiting to happen. Especially when you get nervous, you get on a big competition like this. So you give that gymnast a lot of credit for adding that skill. That routine was good. His difficulty was good, not great, but it was good. In this competition, that is a routine that he's going to look back and say, I did my job on high bar.
Geraldo's doing what he needs to do, though. Just a consistent, well-done competition so far.
Yeah.
No major mistakes, just hanging in there.
Right, clean and good technique. I like his style. He's a very nice gymnast to watch. His performance is good. And here's his release skill. You can see laid out front with a full twist, barely caught the bar, but it was exciting, and he is exciting. He's got he works very fast, very crisp, and he's a great gymnast, so doing a very good job here.
Waiting on his score here, keeping his composure, getting ready for the next event. It's like we said, get down off that bar and you move on.
Yeah, you move on, and inside you got a really good feeling right now. It's good to get over high bar. It's great because tough routine, easy to fall, easy to make a mistake, and he may not be showing a jumping for joy, but inside I guarantee you he's thinking, wow, that was good. I'm so glad that's done. Now 3 down, 3 to go, because for him he just hit the halfway point, and that's kind of like if you're golfing, that's like making the turn. He's got the first half done good. Now step it up, get 3 more good ones, and see what happens. But I'm in the mix here.
Yeah. And his personality's fit in his competition, just even. He's not getting too excited. He's not getting upset at anything. He's just even through the competition.
Yeah, and his high bar score 14.2. Not a great score because the difficulty level of that routine wasn't super high. But I think in this competition, compared to the rest of the field, that high bar score will be good. Won't be the best, but it's certainly not going to be in the lower end either.
Here's Puerto Rico's Luis Rivera on the high bar. So far having a very good competition. Consistent, good clean lines.
Nice, beautiful Tkachev way over the bar. A little trouble there on that Stalder with the L grip. This routine also, John, not a lot of difficulty so far. So, when your start score is low, you really need to hit a clean routine. Try to stick dismounts, little hop, good solid performance, but a low difficulty routine. So, he's not going to get a super high score, but once again, you got what you got at this competition. That's your routine. The only thing you can do is go out and hit it, and he did do that.
Now, Luis has, and all the gymnasts, Peter, have 2 panels of judges looking at him, right? You have the A panel and the B panel. Can you explain a little bit what both those panels are supposed to be doing?
Yeah, well, there's, like we've talked about a lot, judging gymnastics now, you almost need a degree in quantum physics. It's become very complicated. And there's 2 sets of judges. One is just looking at the difficulty in the routine, the actual content of the routine. And the other set of judges are looking at how the routine was done, the execution, whether your toes are pointed or your legs are together, your rhythm is good. So one panel works on one set, the other panel works on the other. They add it up, and the formulas come forward, and boom, you've got a score. We've gone full circle, John. You don't remember this, but in the old days of gymnastics, there were very few rules. Judges would look at the routine and just decide what the score was based on what they liked. As we evolved into a more technical sport, we've gotten more and more into rules, and now the code of points, is about 400 pages, and pretty much everything you do is scripted in the book. So, we've gone full circle, and to be honest with you, I'm not sure all the changes are great, but you know, it is very technical now, and we've taken away a little bit from the I like that. There's some good things to be said about that. We have, our sport has some performance factor, and when everything has to be written on paper, you can kind of lose that performance factor. And the old days had some good things about it too. So, hopefully one day we'll find a way to consider both.
Yeah. Well, everything that's new in the sport sometimes throws people off, and hopefully this new scoring system will really turn out to be what everyone's saying they want it to be, which is kind of pushing the sport forward. But unfortunately, sometimes we look at the sport and say, how much forward can we go?
Yeah, I actually like the rules. I think it is better. I think it separates the better guys. I think one of the old problems we had was that, all the great guys were bunched in with the good guys. And, a great guy could make one little mistake and suddenly he's getting beat by someone that's nowhere near as good as him. And that never felt good for me as a coach. Coaching 2 Olympic teams, I always looked at that and saying, I'm not sure that's great. We should try to do something about that. And I think these new rules do. Right. And there's his high bar score, 14.1. Good score for that routine. Low start score, but he did it well. So right. You talked about the 2 panels, and there he definitely satisfied that panel giving him his performance score.
Jose Fuentes of Venezuela here in the high bar had a great parallel bar routine.
Yeah, and I'm very impressed with him so far. He has a lot of style, a very dynamic gymnast, nice to watch, and really good rhythm. This high bar routine is good. There's a lot of difficulty. All those hand changes add up value in the routine, and he's doing them well.
He's got really clean form.
Yeah, he's great. He's John, he reminds me a little bit of you. You always had that style, and judges really like it.
Wow, and the dismount.
Yeah, he stuck it. It wasn't done great, but he stuck it.
He's pumped up, though, man. This guy's here to play.
Yeah, he's on a roll. We've seen him on 3 events now, and he's right at the halfway point, and I know he's thinking, I got a chance here. What you want to do as a coach is, this is a good time to say, all right, now, good. You're doing good, but don't get carried away here.
Start over.
It's not over yet. Right. Yeah, it's kind of like you got that little bird in your hand. You want to peek at it, but you don't want to let it fly away.
Yeah, exactly. So he wants to get a good score here. He's got a stuck dismount. He's getting the crowd behind him a little bit now, and he's headed to his next event. So really, in his mind, he's like, I'm on my way.
Yeah, that's one of the things you want to do. You want to actually feel like it's your arena, it's your time, and everything I do out there is going to be good. And you have a certain amount of control like that. No different from a basketball player or soccer player or somebody who really has it going. He's in the zone right now.
He's in the zone, and when you're in the zone, you want a good score to stay in the zone. So that's what we're waiting on right now to see his score. Should be coming up here in just a minute. And the score for Jose is going to be a 14.8, not a bad score. We'll be back with more Pan American Games all-around men's finals. Well, welcome back to World Sport HD, exclusive high-definition coverage of the 2007 Pan American Games. We're back here on the vault. I'm John McCready. Alongside me, Peter Corman. Peter, here's our U.S. competitor, Guillermo Alvarez on the vault.
Well, big jump back. Overall, John, a good vault. Had that landing problem, and like we've talked about, tenths of a point are adding up, but Guillermo's doing a good job. He had a good performance earlier. We saw him. See the height and distance he got from the horse. Very powerful Yurchenko vault, which is named after the great gymnast Yurchenko, coming backwards into the horse.
15.5, not a bad score. Now Guillermo has his personal coach there with him, Mike Burns from Minnesota. That's got to help a little bit, right, Pete?
Yeah, of course. You need your coach. Yeah. So he's got his coach, and he's often doing good, and one of the top gymnasts in the United States, and that vault is one of the reasons why.
So here's our vault results for the men's individual all around. Mexico hanging in there really good with Danielle's 15.7. Luis Riviera, we saw his at 15.7 also. They're both tied from Puerto Rico. And then Luis Vargas, 15.65. So Puerto Rico's hanging in there really well.
Yeah, and vault scores are all pretty good. We talk about the tenths of a point adding up. So anywhere in that 15.7 to 15.4 or 5 category, you're not going to lose too much ground, but you definitely don't want to be down in the low 14s.
Crowd's getting into this competition now. We talked about that a little bit before. Pan American countries, they love to cheer. You see those flags roaring out there.
Yeah, it can be exciting, and the all-around competition is one that if you're the winner of this, John, you really feel a lot of pride. So, you know, a lot of the gymnasts who competed in the earlier team competition are not in the all-around finals. They're sitting in the stands. So some of the cheering you're hearing is actually teammates of guys maybe that they've been practicing with their entire lives. You know, their best friend is out there competing. So there's a lot of emotion, and there's a lot of reason to, you know, to celebrate and to, you know, to be excited about the competition, that's for sure. And this is a very exciting competition. These scores are very close. Everything counts right now. You know, you look at the totals of the all-around score, there's like 6 or 7 guys within 2 or 3 tenths of each other. So, you know, you can't ask for more than that.
There's the hometown boy from Brazil, Luis Anjos. This crowd's going to be looking for a big routine right here.
Yeah, they're going to go crazy if he does a great Tkachev, and you hear the crowd. Good routine so far, looking for a little more difficulty to raise the start value of the routine. So far, nothing extremely hard, but doing it well. There's a full pirouette to an L grip. Getting ready for his last sequence of skills. This is a good routine. Technically, it's done very well, but the difficulty level is not super high.
Big dismount here.
Yeah, full twisting double back, a little step on the dismount, a good solid hit performance. From
Crowd's liking it.
Yeah, the hometown guy. And, you know, we talked a lot about the judging, John, and it's tough to tell the difference between a really difficult routine in terms of the skills and one that's a little bit easier. So that routine, wouldn't be a bit surprised if you hear a little booing with the score.
Yeah, because they're not going to quite understand why.
Yeah, and he did it well, and everything looks good, but there's not a lot of difficulty in the routine, so his score can't be that high. There's a beautiful Tkachev way over the bar, kept his body nice and straight. And you see the grip changes from one grip. Those raise the difficulty of the skill, the value of the skill. You see that grip, we call that an L grip or an eagle grip. Now his full twisting double layout. Hikes down a little bit, took that jump on the landing. Overall, a good hit routine.
Well, let's see what the score is for Luis. Betting the crowd's going to give us a reaction either way, wouldn't you say, Pete?
I think so.
There it is.
Yeah, well, we kind of predicted that one.
Yeah, 14.2,
Good.
just like you said.
That's a good score, though. I mean, he didn't have a lot of difficulty in the routine, and the judges are actually pretty lenient on that. He could have actually scored lower. So, you know, booing aside, that score was justified, and you know, his challenge now is to move on to floor and do a little more difficulty there and try to make it up.
Here's our high bar results. Alexander Rodriguez with a 15.15 from Puerto Rico leading the way. Luis Fuentes, 14.8 from Venezuela. And then the hometown favorite from Brazil.
Yeah, so that's not bad, John. 14.2 was right in the mix, you know, not the top, but certainly not at the bottom either. So, you know, I think he got what he deserved.
Yeah, Luis has got to be happy with that. Moving over to the parallel bars. Colombia's Jorge Geraldo.
That's a great shot. You can see the arena and people competing everywhere.
A very nice arena.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful arena. That was a big mistake. Didn't look bad, but it was bad. He left a skill out. swaying down to an L, which is doing something that is considered a part of no value. So that's a deduction.
Got some interesting moves in here. It's the second skill that I've seen that's kind of unique.
Yeah, no question about it. To pelt to a front, it's really cool skill. That routine was interesting. It was hard, John. There was a lot of difficulty in there, but there was some mistakes for sure.
Yeah.
Big mistake at the beginning, big major mistake, and then a lot of little things that added up too. So that would be interesting.
Right there you see him miss his hand a little bit.
Yeah, he missed his hand, missed his grip, and he just swang to an L position, which you can't do without getting a technical deduction. And had a few other little errors. But I like the composition of the routine. It's very unique. You can see the bars move. They're actual fiberglass. The bars have a wooden lamination, but inside them is fiberglass, so they're very springy nowadays. The old days, those were just solid wood, John.
Solid wood, buddy, huh? You guys would just go in the forest and just knock down a tree and make some P-bars.
Man, you hit your head on one of those old wooden ones. That hurt. Now you kind of bounce off.
They're waiting for Jorge's score. There it is, a 14.5. Not a bad score.
Good score considering those mistakes, and look at how close it is.
These are our standings after 3 apparatus. Jose Fuentes, 45.4 from Venezuela, hanging in there. Jorge Geraldo in second place. And these guys they're battling it out, Pete. Like you said, it's very close. They want to make a statement, and it's kind of the halfway mark right now. We'll be back with more Pan American Games for the men's all-around championships.
As harsh as it is beautiful, as dangerous as it is spectacular, this is Baffin Island. A wonderland of ice and snow, a massive, ever-evolving work of art sculpted over millions of years by nature's hand. It is a land of simplicity and tradition, beauty and isolation, inviting one moment, inhospitable the next. Walls of sheer rock and granite rise above the surface of the Arctic Ocean to form one of the most unique wilderness environments on Earth. 4 women traveled to Baffin Island in search of adventure, inspiration, and to challenge their own personal limits. 4 unique and fascinating women, each one strong, each one brave, each one willing to face the hardships and dangers of this magical place. Together they would experience incredible highs, endure danger and adversity, and in the very toughest of times, find the comfort of each other when they would need it most.
I'm searching for a peaceful, incredible experience as a team, and hoping to come out as a better person that's learned something about myself, the people around me, and this planet.
As a group, the women have come to Baffin Island with a number of objectives. Explore 2 of the island's more remote fjords, Gibbs and Sam Ford, by kite skiing and skinning, and attempt first ascents of the many couloirs lining their sheer granite walls. Only a handful of adventurers have been here before. Some of the couloirs have been skied. Many others have never felt the weight of a human being.
This is incredible. I never even imagined that it would be